Hello, everybody, and welcome to EDU 508, which is creating a trauma-informed school. This is my opening remarks for week one. I am Dr. Sean Emslander. Very good to meet you all. Full transparency, I have two cohorts this semester of EDU 508. So when I am responding to questions in these videos, it is very possible that I will be responding to questions from both cohorts. We'll go over couple things, go through some Blackboard stuff and general housekeeping. So this is our book, Building Trauma Sensitive Schools by Jen Alexander. And the hope here is that we're bridging the gap between being a scholar and being a practitioner. My hope is that you can take things from this text and from this class and actually put it in place in your classroom and or your school. We are going to try to do deep dives rather than kind of trying to cover everything very, very loosely. We're going to try to do a deep dive into fewer topics. So my expectations for your writing is that it is professional, it is APA. And with that, I'm going to skip down to discussion board dialogue. Please make sure you are respectful for your peers and try to be timely on them. Your initial post will be every Thursday, and any responses are due Saturday. The hardest thing for me is when people aren't posting on Thursday, and then your peers cannot get their things done either because you haven't posted yet. One of the things that bothers me the most is when one student's lack of completing work starts to impact the rest of the class. That does not sit well with me. For learning, I'm hoping that you're able to gather a lot from the textbook, from each other, from me. Know that I tend to run my courses more as a facilitator than a teacher. I try not to spend a lot of time on these opening lectures lecturing. I try to let you know this is what we're doing this week, this is what's coming up, these are the questions that have come up, and then if there's some specific topics that I want to talk about, I'll talk about those, but I try to keep these videos shorter to provide more time for you guys to have your real lives and get the work done that you need to get done. And again, some of the hope is that this will actually be applied in your classrooms or school settings. As I already mentioned, I view myself as a facilitator of learning rather than a sage on a stage. I don't have all the answers. I don't think anybody does in this field, but I will do my best to make sure that all of you are getting what you want out of this class. To engage in communication with me, the best way is to email me at mslander@csb.edu. If you send a message on Blackboard, I will also see that. You can also schedule a one-on-one Zoom session if you think that's necessary. Done a couple of those, they've always been good. One thing to note about emailing me, I work in a prison, which means that I don't have access to that email during my work hours, but I generally look at it both before work and after work. So I will always be responding within 24 hours. Unless something comes up, I have two small children who get sick and tend to get me sick. But if that were to happen, I would be sending out an announcement via Blackboard about my change in availability. There's a calendar in Blackboard. I recommend just going to the syllabus to kind of lay out your own things. So the syllabus can be found, apparently Blackboard is going slow. On the landing page, there is the syllabus. And if you scroll down a little bit, there is a piece by piece going through of every assignment that you will have. Assignment 1, 2, 3, and 4. Cover those more in the future. This week, there's 3 chapters, which are roughly 66 pages. You have initial posts due Thursday. And as a reminder, your responses to peers are due on Saturday. All assignments, except for assignment 4, will be due on Saturdays. Assignment 4 is a little different because of how our Separate. All right, so your three assignments are a reflective writing on the anatomy of students in your classroom. So this is just going to be you writing about your current classroom setting. Assignment 2 is a case study of a trauma-informed school, where you're going to go and do research into a school that presents itself as trauma-informed, and if it really lives up to that. Assignment 3 is building a trauma-sensitive and resilience-enhancing school model. And assignment 4 is a little bit longer paper on stakeholder engagement in trauma-informed schools. You're going to select a group of stakeholders and how they can be engaged in building and maintaining a trauma-informed school. Those are the 4 big assignments. And then just about every week we will have discussion boards. The only week we won't is the final week, which is week 8. It's a shortened learning week, and the assignment, I believe, is due on a Monday. That is on in Blackboard on assignments. All of the due dates are listed. I did go through and double check all of these. So assignment 1, which is the first thing that you could start working on for a bigger assignment. You are going to identify and assess the social and emotional needs of the students in your classroom. This paper can be written in first person, which is abnormal for APA writing. So you can say I and such in here, that's fine. But like an introduction / purpose of the writing, that is 1 paragraph long. Share the overall presenting social and emotional needs of your students. If the ACEs questionnaire were to be administered to students in your classroom, what might be the range of ACEs scores and categories? Please note, this is not asking you to actually administer that survey, as that is something that would need to go through parents and or your school district. The impact of student trauma experiences and student learning, if you're seeing any of that actively in your classroom. And then a conclusion that is 1 paragraph. This should be APA formatted with a cover page and 2 pages of writing. Try not to go too far above or below that. Should have headings, in-text citations, and a reference page if you reference anything. Kind of your definitely should be cited in this paper is the original ACEs study. If you're going to talk about the ACEs questionnaire, you probably want to cite where that came from. Grading. So what you can expect from me is a Google Drive shared rubric every week. When I get through grading, I will send that to you. You will have discussion boards and the assignment rubrics from the syllabus on those shared sheets. I usually get to grading by about Wednesday of the following week. So week 1, I usually have graded by about Wednesday of week 2. Some of the bigger assignments can take me longer. Depends on how busy my own work schedule is and how much I'm doing with my children. If you have questions on my grading, please reach out to me via email. You can also comment on the rubrics that I send you. I do find those comments to be helpful. Sometimes I do miss things. It happens. And I will change your grade after I give it if you are able to point out something that I missed. For this week, there are 3 discussion boards. You guys will also notice that every discussion board is currently available to you, except for my opening remarks, because they pre-fill with ones from previous semesters and need to be replaced. So for discussion board 1, share a soundtrack, playlist title, or song lyric that relate to building trauma-informed schools. And you can post a link to that song if you wish. Then write 1 to 2 paragraphs on why you picked this particular audio. Sign your post as follows: your name, grade level and content teaching assignment, and school district or geographic location. So just really help me find out who you are and where you're at. For discussion board number 2, please respond to the following. The most traumatic experiences I have encountered in a school setting are blank. What was the school, district, and community response to the situation? Try to be specific, detail-oriented, deep dive, but remember to keep the student's identity or other staff members' identity confidential. And given your program readings and learnings thus far, is there anything you might do to suggest doing differently should that same opportunity present itself again? Please explain. So interestingly, the most traumatic, I'll share mine right now. The most traumatic experience for me was not traumatic for my students at all. I had a student overdose on fentanyl in my classroom, fall out of his chair and hit his head on the cement floor just in the middle of algebra class. Found out that's what it was several hours later, but every other student knew exactly what was going on because I work in a prison. So I called for medical staff, everything was taken care of, everybody ended up being okay. But for me, I had a student go sheet white, fall and hit his head on the floor, and then start having problems breathing and seizing, etc. While I didn't know what was happening. The prison's response was to send him to the ambulance, get him to a hospital, get him treated. They actually gave him Narcan in my classroom. So we probably actually saved his life, but I think that response was good. But I don't think anybody ever checked in with me or the other students. I definitely didn't check in with the students. I should have. So that is something that I could do better in the future. Yeah, that was an interesting situation. So those are the 2 discussion boards for this week. For opening remarks, let's just say, what are you looking forward to most this spring? You can respond to that in the opening remarks. I try to keep my opening remarks questions a little bit more fun. And I am very much looking forward to working with all of you this semester.